So hey guys, I'm recording this for people who may have missed our presentation on Saturday morning where we went through and did a practice PSAT test together that we found on the internet at the College Board website. And so here's basically the tips that I would give you about math related and other tips about the PSAT. So first off, we did this through a Schoology course. And so if you're a Minnetonka student, that's the PSAT course, I guess you'd call it, where we made a little Schoology course and gave it that code. And then you can download this off the internet at this College Board website. And if you instead want to get it directly from, we made it available in the Schoology course there. All right, so here's some tips. First of all, the actual PSAT's happening on Wednesday, October 15th this year. And you might think, what can I do between now and then? Oh, there's only a few days. I don't have time to study. And I'd say that's baloney. You've got a ton of high school kids who only study for their tests the night before them. I mean, ideally, you'd study earlier than that, but most kids don't study until the night before. So don't tell me that you've got 3 or 4 days and you don't have any time to study for it. If this could make a big difference to you to be able to possibly get National Merit Scholar, then you have some time. And what you could do is go to a website that I made. It's called algebraninja.com. And what you'd find there is that I made a bunch of little quizzes called, for instance, the first 20. That's the first one that'll pop up if you click on the algebra prep tab. So first 20 is a set of 20 really important algebra skills, and you might just find one in there that you don't know how to do. And then you could go learn it by clicking on the little video next to it, which I again recorded, and you'd be able to watch a 2-minute video on how to do that kind of skill. So if you're better than that, if like first 20 is too easy for you, then move to the top 20, or maybe even the tough 20. Those are all appropriate for preparing for tests like the ACT or like the PSAT. The math skills are very similar. Huge overlap between those two tests on what skills they test you on. All right, so the PSAT is owned. It's a trademark owned by the jointly by the College Board and the National Merit Scholarship Corporation, neither of which is affiliated with, it's not really a course, but this little tips day. We just want to make it clear that they own this thing, and we're just like helping you to understand their tests that we found on the internet at their website to practice for the PSAT. A little bit about me. You shouldn't just take anybody's advice about how to do better on the PSAT, but I actually do know a few things about the PSAT, and I have done a lot of my work on the ACT also, but again, huge overlap math-wise between those two. So on the day of the PSAT, just a few thoughts. If you're a Minnetonka student, you're going to do this on your iPad. You want it to be fully charged. You can bring a power cord and a portable charger. I think that wouldn't be a bad idea. Because again, think about it, you can't necessarily have an outlet. So you would be very smart to bring a portable charger that's capable of charging your iPad, just in case you screwed up and you didn't bring a fully charged iPad. So, or maybe, I don't know, maybe your iPad's battery's kind of weak. You don't want the iPad to crash during your test. A pencil or a pen. Why? Well, because you're going to have scratch paper that they will provide, and you would want to be able to do scratch work to like figure out these answers for sure. I mean, this is a no-brainer. You should be doing these on paper. That's how you've done all your math up till now. You don't want to just sit there in front of a screen and click on A, B, or C. That is not how you should do this. You can bring an approved calculator. Typically, you should know that there is a graphing calculator built into the app, but you can bring it, the one that most kids have, which is a TI-84, and you can use both. The one that's built into the app is a lot like Desmos, and so I'll address that in just a moment. Let's see, the only other one, I would just have my ID with me just in case there's some kind of confusion about, like somebody proctoring the test can't find you on their list or whatever. But if you have your school ID, that would be very smart. So why is this test so important? Now, people are like, it's just a practice SAT. It is, but it's also the NMSQT, which stands for National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. And so basically, you could take the ACT all day long and get a perfect paper, and they won't give you a National Merit Scholar. Only this test can help you get that. So could that save you money on tuition? Yes. You should try Googling full ride scholarships for National Merit finalists, and you'd find that there's a ton of scholarships out there for people that have got a National Merit finalist designation. So my daughter got it, and she got a full ride scholarship. She chose NDSU, but there would have been about 50 colleges that would have given her a full ride for 4 years throughout the United States. So it's a big deal if you get that. Next thing, they give you all the basic formulas that you would need on the PSAT. The ACT does not, but the PSAT, they're going to include these kinds of formulas for you. Next, typical, an average kid's only going to be about half right on this test, but you're not going for average, are you? I think you're going to want to maybe have a chance at national merit. So to be able to do that, you're only going to be able to get like 1 or 2 wrong. Like, not just total, maybe 1 or 2, and maybe 1 wrong in each section. And why am I being so vague? Because it totally depends. Honestly, they look back after people have taken the test, and then they figure out who is at the top 1%. So if you have a year where the test is really hard, they're still going to take the top 1%. So maybe on some years you can get 3 or 4 wrong, and other years maybe you can only get 1 wrong. But clearly you don't want too many wrong. And it's also dependent on the state. Different states have different qualifying levels. All right. Next up, the Desmos calculator is very similar to the one that you're going to be using on the real digital test. This is taken through Blue Book. There's an app called Blue Book that you can download, and I think that would be really smart. And it's got a practice PSAT in there. That would also be really smart to do on your own in the next few days. But if during this practice test you were to use Desmos, that would be smart. Okay, so for the reading and writing sections, you're going to have 39 minutes for each test. For the math sections, you're going to have 43 minutes for each test. Now, I want to be clear. This is just for the test that we're taking for practice. The real PSAT will be shorter than this. And there's also less questions, okay? But bottom line, actually, I'm not positive on the less questions. I'm pretty sure that there's less questions, but I know that there's less time given. So we are using the exact amount that they told us to use in the documents that came along with this practice test. So we've given you a right amount of time for this practice test that we're taking, but the real test will be slightly shorter. All right, so for a little bit of math help before you actually take the PSAT, I'm going to give you some thoughts on what are some decent strategies. One of them that's really important is, for math, is if you can factor it, you should. Let's say you had this, for instance, and you're sitting there thinking, well, the answer is 0. 0 is going to work. Cool. And then you get it wrong because you didn't factor it. 0 would work, but watch what happens when I factor it. There is an answer of 0, but there's also an answer of x equals -1. And I bet you anything they'd put x equals 0 as the first answer of the ABCDs if they made this one multiple choice. And you might be like, what do you mean? Aren't they all multiple choice? No, they aren't all multiple choice. Sometimes you have a type in the answer type question. So moral of the story, if you can factor it, you should, because it'll help you see, and this is a million different ways that factoring could help you solve a question. All right, next one I want to remind you about is that you do have the answers on almost all the questions. And so, for instance, if you have answers that are like -1, 0, 1, and 2, you could just grab that answer, put it up into the problem that they gave you, and see if it works. Like, you're not used to having the answers on multiple choice tests because most high school kids don't have many multiple choice questions. Almost all your questions are ones where you have to write it out, show all your work, and then give the answer. if you have the answer choices, you can try them and see if they work. So once you've realized that 0 didn't work, but you can tell by looking at your results that it would have worked if you had a smaller number, then look, there's only one smaller number left. All right, so moral of the story is you have the answers. You should use them. So there's, we went over quite a few tips when we did the, about a month ago when we gave you some extra help. That's the day when we gave the most tips for the PSAT. I just have one more thought for you, and that is time is crucial. If a problem is kicking your butt and you end up with one problem that is just like, I can't get this, well, then circle it. Take a guess. Like, don't think I'll come back to it later. No, take a guess now. If it's A, B, C, D, just pick A, pick any letter you want, just pick a random letter and move on, because you have only a little more than 1 minute per question. And if you end up spending 5 minutes and getting it right, that's still a loss, because you're supposed to be able to get 5 questions done, or maybe 4 in that amount of time. And so my point is, don't be stubborn and get stuck on a problem, and then you get deeper and deeper, and now you spent 2 minutes and you still don't have an answer, or 3 minutes. Just circle it, because you can come back to it. Even on the digital version of the PSAT, you can mark the question and come back to it later. So that's one of the most important tips too. All right, so there's some things that I hope will help you as you take the practice test. And from there, all you got to do is open the PDF, take the test, make sure you only give yourself the amount of time that I told you about, and then grade the tests with the answer key. I think you'll find that the answer key is in a red folder inside the Schoology course. And I wish you the absolute best of luck.